Cool. Hi everybody, let's start taking seats. We're getting started in a few seconds, so feel free to take a seat right now. All right, everyone. Hi, I'm Eduardo. I'm a first year in the college studying political science and economics. I came to the US less than a year ago. I was born and raised in Brazil, and I'm very proud of that. But I do love this place. I'm really happy to be here and really happy to talk about the American identity. And something that we were discussing along the preparation of the event is having a foreign voice talk about the shifting movement around the world towards conservatism. We had a huge wave the last maybe 2 years of countries going towards the right, going towards conservative politicians. And for that reason, we invited Nikolas Ferreira to come to Chicago, give his perspectives. So Nikolas is he was the most voted congressman in 2022 in Brazil. He received around 1.5 million votes, which is a huge margin for a politician in Brazil. And mind you, he was 26 years old when he did that. Now he's 28, and now he uses his charisma and his powerful social network presence to bring up issues that normal Brazilians wouldn't see. With a very powerful reach of around 18 million people following him, and some videos getting 300 million, 150 million views, that's around the population of Brazil and the US sometimes. He really has a strength in bringing these issues to people that wouldn't be caring about them and making people feel included in politics. So everyone, please give a round of applause to Nikolas. All right, so feel free to introduce more of yourself.
Thanks, Eduardo. Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to say that I talk about politics day by day, but in Portuguese, not in English. So it's difficult for me, but I'll try to do my best, okay? And I appreciate the invitation. Thank you, Eduardo. It's a pleasure for me to be here. And in a few minutes, I just want to introduce myself. I'm 28. I'm a congressman in Brazil, as Eduardo said. I came from a poor neighborhood in Brazil. It's called Cabana. It's a favela in Brazil. It's a very different reality than maybe most of you had in your lives. So I know the real Brazil. I know the poverty. I know what's the difficulties, what is the pains of the society. And for me, it's a tough task to represent all the people that voted for me, but I think I'm doing this a great job in Congress. Last year, I was the president of the the Commission of Education, and it was a very good experience because we have done a great job over there, and that's it. My life was. Since the beginning, I didn't have any politicians in my family. And when I was a teenager, I went to high school and then to university, and I could experience how indoctrinate was this space. I had different thoughts about the ideals of the majority of the university, and I was persecuted because of my ideas. I'm a conservative. I'm married to a beautiful woman. I prayed a lot. And I have 2 children. One is 1 year old and the other one is 5 months and she's in the belly. So this is my biggest achievement in life. So I'm very happy for what I've done or what I'm doing for my country. And that's it. I'm just a young guy with a lot of dreams, and I want to help my Brazil.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of dreams and you're making it happen, right?
Yeah.
So one really interesting thing that was widely brought up today was, the First Amendment of the United States and freedom of speech and freedom of inquiry. which also is a huge point of the University of Chicago. But in Brazil, it's not a really, it's not a clear distinction that everyone's free to speak how they please. And a lot has been brought up recently about the STF, which is the Supreme Court of Brazil, and their restrictions to media, their restrictions to speech and social networks. And a huge controversy we had was in 2022, in the height of the elections, right? So I believe you got fined for something you posted on Instagram. Bolsonaro, who was running, he had his rights to speak on radio revoked in a few places. And all that sort of stuff was happening all over the country. And I was wondering, how do, first of all, give a context of how's it going right now? And second, how can we fight it?
So when we talk about politics, I want to make a point. I agree to disagree, okay? Because when we talk about politics, maybe you'll think that I'll talk about Bolsonaro because I'm conservative and I will defend him in all the ways. But what I'm going to say here is the truth. Not my point of view, but it's the truth. After the 2022 elections, my Instagram, my Twitter, and my Facebook was shut down by order of the Minister of the Supreme Court, Alexandre de Moraes, and I don't know why. My lawyer that is here, he doesn't know why. So I didn't have the access to the process. So
the lawsuit. Right?
Yeah, yes. So that's what is happening. And in 2022 elections, we had a very partial of the conduction of the electoral court because they could say everything about us. So they accused us to be genocide, to be fascist, to be extremist, to be transphobic, to all of this. And then when we said that Lula, for example, he had a relationship with Maduro, that is a dictatorship, we couldn't say that. I couldn't say that Lula supported abortion, for example. So I got sued because of that, I think about $10,000. And after that, after the 2022 elections, my account was given me back, but not because we won in the justice, but because I was the most voted congressman in Brazil. It would be very bad for Brazil to have his most voted congressman without social media. Because when I say that I have more than 35 millions of followers in my social media, I don't say this to magnify me. I say this because social media for a politician and for everyone, it's a public square. Because before, the politicians talk about his opinions in public square. Now we have the social media. And the social media, for me, it's not only a shield, but a way to attack what I need to attack. So if it wasn't for my votes in my social media, maybe now I would be in prison and without social media. So when we talk about freedom of speech, for example, the social media in Brazil, maybe it's the last thing that we have to say what we want. And even though the Article 33 in our Constitution that says that we have immunity to say whatever you want, to vote whatever we want, even though I'm being sued by the Supreme Court because of the things that I say in the Congress. So it's the Constitution of Brazil is not being respected. And that's very dangerous, not for Brazil, but for the whole world.
Yeah, and just like it happened in the US, it's all in the name of democracy and protecting against disinformation and all of that. And as you said, social media is the biggest weapon you use to fight this war because when they allow you to fight it, of course, in fair terms. And there was a project of a law that the PIX regulation, bank transfer regulation, that you made a video about that I checked today, it has 330 million views on the Instagram alone. That's, for context, Brazil's population is around 220 million. So it's a big number. And do you think that show of public support of people going to Instagram, going to their social networks, do you think that actually has a big impact on legislation? And if it does, how do you, what's your advice for people that are politicians and want to achieve the same success as you to talking to young people?
Yeah, it does, because Lula government, they back up on this measure in the PIX. So it was worth it to do this video. And I was accused because I had like more than 300 millions of views. They said that Elon Musk helped me. They said that Mark Zuckerberg helped me, and even Trump helped me to have this kind of views. So it's crazy. I started with 0 followers. So everyone starts with 0 followers. I had a lot of videos that didn't went viral, but I only spoke the truth. I think that's the success of the video. And everyone shared this video because they didn't know how to say what they were feeling, and the video translated this into a video. So they only needed to share this. So I think if anyone wants to do the same, I think that the first thing that you need to do is to say the truth, and do not subestimate this, because you never know where your voice is going to reach. Like, for example, yesterday I saw we were at a dinner, and then a guy said, "Oh, I saw a video from you. I'm from Chile." I was like, "What the heck? Like, how a guy from Chile saw my video?" So you need to speak the truth, because I know that the lies, they spread out very fast, but the truth has the power. So I always speak the truth, even though maybe I can be in prison, and I'm not joking. I'm not joking. There's a friend of mine, he was deputy also, a congressman. His name is Daniel Silveira. He's now 5 years in jail, Eduardo. 5 years in jail. And asking me, what is his crime? Corruption? No. Maybe he's stolen the
Government.
Yeah, the government? No. He spoke against the ministers of the Supreme Court. I don't agree of what he said, but put someone in jail because what he said, that's Brazil, unfortunately. So he's in jail for 5 years. So I can be in jail for this too. Maybe they can kill me, as they tried to do with the ex-president Bolsonaro. And the one that tried to kill him was affiliated into a socialist party. So, I mean, I think that anyone that wants to post something on the internet needs to know that your voice is powerful, and you can't subestimate that.
Yeah. Well, election-wise, in 2022, Lula, his unofficial campaign slogan was steak and beer, right? We're going to go back to having barbecues, and we're going to go back to enjoying a cold beer in the weekends. And it was a pretty tight election. I think the margin was around a 1%.
Yeah, 1%.
2% difference.
Yeah.
And how much do you think in a country like Brazil, where we're super volatile, we grow a lot and then we decay a lot, how much do you think these populist policies, right, increasing safety nets for housing, increasing safety nets for, poor people, how much do you think that buys you an election in terms of populism, and how much do you think that we can fight that with values and with true long-lasting policy?
So, unfortunately, people in Brazil, they voted not with their head, but with their stomach, because the candidate said that, "Oh, you all gonna get meat again. You're all gonna drink some beer," and people were like, "Oh, awesome! I'm gonna drink."
This was maybe less than 2 years after he was released from prison.
Yes,
right.
Yes. Like,
I mean, people forget what happened, and all that happened, all the process that happened in Lava Jato and car wash operation that got him in jail and got a bunch of politicians in jail, and then he promises that, and everybody forgets about it, right?
Yes, because it's a process. There is a promise that they can keep. They go to government, they blame someone, and they put the people in poverty, and then they say, "Oh, you're poor, then you need me again." And then they repeat this. So that's what Lula does. If you have curiosity, put on maybe YouTube, Lula's speech in 2002.
2002.
Yeah, 2002, and the same speech that he does in 2022. So in 20 years, he gave the same speech, the same promises, and guess what? He never accomplished that. So how you do the opposite? I think with the truth, and you open the eyes of the people. Unfortunately, we have a lot of poor people in Brazil that still believes in this kind of public administration, because it's very easy. Like people in Brazil, for example, they want a state that is big, that help him. But look, if the state educates your son, if the government gives you home, health, security, like why do you need God? Like, why do you need family? The state provides everything. So the government now is God. And the government is made not by a mystical figure, but it's made by people. It's people in there that solve better your problems than you. It's crazy. But unfortunately, Brazilians think that. That if you put someone there, you're gonna solve all my problems. But when you do that, you take your individual responsibilities. So I think that we need to keep on saying truths for Brazilian, and then they will open their eyes and see now all the empresas estatais.
All the state-owned companies.
Yeah, all the state companies now in Brazil, it's in deficit. Deficit.
Yeah, they're taking losses.
Yeah, they are all taking losses. So they're seeing the consequences of their bad votes. So I think that more people also should go to politics, because it's a hard place. Yeah. But as a Christian, I think that the light should bright not in the light, but light should bright in the darkness. So that's why I enter into politics also.
Yeah. I'll have one last question before we turn to questions from the audience.
Okay.
And again, also in the realm of economic growth in Brazil, right? Ever since the 2000s and even before that, everyone used to say, now Brazil's taken off. Now we're going to be a huge country. Now we're going to be a superpower. And then every time something unexpected happens, some problem comes along and we never become that. Yeah. Right? Well, what do you think is the biggest structural problem that Brazil has that it doesn't allow it to grow, and the US doesn't have the problem and makes it grow because of that? What do you think is the biggest single reason?
We have a lot of tax. Our government is so big, so big, so big. If you put the carga tributária.
The tax rate.
Tax what?
Tax rate.
Rate, okay. If you put all the tax rate legislation in a
desk, in a table, in a weighing machine.
In a weighing machine, it weighs the same as an elephant. Really, I'm not joking. So it's very heavy. So it's a state, very big, that offers you everything, but they can't give you anything. So I think what we could change in Brazil, especially, we need to cut these taxes. But if you do that, you're gonna cut taxes, or you're gonna cut despesas,
costs.
Costs in people who is powerful. So it's very difficult, because the president can do this. The Congress also can do this. But if you cut the costs, you will cut in people who are powerful. For example, our Supreme Court in Brazil, it costs more for the taxpayers than the British
royal family.
The British royal family. All the judiciary in Brazil costs more than 150 billion reals. So it's almost...
It's around $30 billion.
$30 billion. Yeah. So it's crazy. So people works like 200, maybe more than 200 days in a year to pay taxes. Only to pay taxes in Brazil. So that's what I would change in Brazil. But of course, it's very difficult.
Of course, definitely. So anyone who has questions can raise their hand. Yeah.
The U.S. We're having this battle with Black Lives Matter, trans activists, and pro-Palestinianism, and the character assassination is what comes out of their mouth most commonly, and the cutting off of the freedom of speech. If you've ever addressed these issues on social media, what is the best message to help get the truth out about those things?
I think to get the truth about these things, it's to say the truth. There's no other formula. Because all of this, it's only, how can I say, it's only a theater. Because what these people really do to black people, for example, they don't do anything. Like in Brazil especially, we have a terrible education. Public education, it's awful. Private education, okay, it's pretty good, but public schools are terrible. So they make some protests, oh, Black Lives Matter, but the education, they don't care about this. When you talk about LGBT activism, they say that, oh, you're gonna have rights right now, we're gonna fight for you. But in Brazil, for example, LGBT are being robbed. They walk in the streets and their cell phones, they just took away. So what they are doing for LGBT persons? Nothing. They just promise and they do nothing. So they just wear a badge here and they say, oh, I'm an LGBT activist because it's good for the image. But they are doing nothing. So what we can do to LGBT, to black people or all the minorities, to give more education, give more healthcare, everything that you do for the heterosexual. For me, our democracy and our justice and our public activism should be blind. So I'm gonna do this because, not because you are black or you are Hispanic or you are immigrant. I'm gonna do this because you are a human being and you deserve to have a good healthcare, a good education, a good security. So when you, for example, in universities of Brazil, some federal universities, you have quota.
You have a set amount of seats reserved for a certain amount of people.
For trans people. So 5% of the
students, they have to fit that criteria.
Yeah, it's reserved for trans people. So what are trans people are different than me? Nothing. So maybe I'm man, and then if one day I say no, I'm a woman, so I will go there or not? So it's crazy. They are just they are fooling everyone because they earn a lot of money with this. A lot of T-shirts of LGBT, they sell a lot. There are a lot of films that they made with LGBT. It's cool to be like LGBT activists, but whatever. You know, what we are getting out of this? Nothing, sir. Nothing.
Any more questions?
Hi there. My question is about institutions. I worry, I'm no expert, but I worry that it is extremely difficult, if not impossible, to really make a country prosper if it doesn't have institutions that are trustworthy, even if they're unfair. You know, that they must be trustworthy. For example, that I can approach, a police officer and he will not rob me, right? That he'll protect me. So from your story right now, it seems to me, and I had heard this before, that Brazil has institutions that are not always trustworthy, right? And it's actually like, in your position, if I were in your position, I would be like, oh my God, how do I, confront this elephant where everything is like against you if you try to work against it, right? How would you approach, in how many years that you would need, the challenge of rebuilding Brazil's institutions to make them, say, good enough for Brazil to develop?
So I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for my children, because I know it's going to take a long time, maybe 20 or 30 years. Because since the 60s, the socialists in Brazil, they started to do a cultural revolution. And if you want to do the way back, you need to do the same path, but a good path. So it's going to take a while to do this. And the institutions of Brazil, really, they lost their trust. because we do not respect them anymore, because they do a lot of things that you say, come on, it's as you said, you ask help for the cops and he robs you. So you're doing the opposite. So our judiciary, they solta traficantes, tipo.
They let drug dealers loose in the streets.
Yeah, and they put congressmen in jail. So our president was condemned.
He was convicted, yeah.
Yeah, condenado, convicted.
Uh-huh.
Ah, legal. He was convicted.
And put in Bolsonaro?
Yeah, he was in jail, and now he's a president. So our Congress, for example, just to give an example, this past week I was voting to increase the quantity of deputies in Brazil. It's 513 deputies, and now we voted, not with my vote, I voted against, to increase the number of congressmen. So any of the institutions of Brazil is doing a good job. So people lost their trust. How we get back the trust? Putting good people there. But the good people doesn't want to go to politics. Because why I'm going to go there? It's so bad. There are a lot of people here that are going to rob me, they're going to push me, they're going to put me in prison, they're going to maybe destroy my family because of this. So it's not worth it. So I think that we need to convince all the people not all the people, but convince the good people that wants to go to the politics to go in there, especially the young, because they can't trap me in nothing. I have more than 100 processos judiciais.
Lawsuits.
Lawsuits.
Filed against him.
Yeah, I have more than 100 suits. So, but any of this one, it's because of corruption, because of I killed someone. No, it's because of what I say. That's my crime. I speak what I want. So I think we need to change the politics in Brazil, but especially the culture. We need to change the culture, because if we change the culture, people are going to vote better, and then we're going to have better representatives in the Congress and also in the other institutions.
Great. I think we have time for one more question. Yeah.
Thanks, Nikolas. My question is related to what you were talking about before. Like you said, you have more than 100 lawsuits filed against you, and with every step that you make towards your mission, the attacks, the pushbacks, they come from every angle. And recently, you're 28, you recently had 2 children, and my question is, how do you, what's your strategy, what's going on in your mind to deal with all the aggressive and violent pushback that you face trying to fix this huge and broken machine, which is the Brazilian government? And what advice do you have to young people that are trying to go in that same path, but are apprehensive about all the pushback and all the and all the obstacles that are inherent to trying to make change?
So I don't take this as a pressure. For me, pressure, it's someone that wakes up 5 a.m. and doesn't know if he's gonna have a dinner. So that's pressure for me. What I live, it's of course it's a hard task, but I treat this as a mission, as a purpose, because when I decided to go to the politics, I prayed a lot, I prepared a lot for this, and if someone wants to go to the same path, I would recommend the same. Pray, prepare yourself, because it's not easy. So they can't do nothing to me. Why I'm gonna be afraid? They can't do anything to me. They're gonna put me in prison. I don't care. I really don't care. Because Paul, in the Bible, he wrote he's the one that wrote more books in the Bible, and he was at prison. So maybe they kill you. I really don't care, because of course I don't want to lose my life. I don't want to be in prison. It would be like unnatural if I chase this, but I know that my mission has sacrifices. And if they kill me, all they're gonna do is gonna make me meet my Savior. So I'm very safe about that. So when I talk about this, it's because as a Christian, and sorry, I can't divide me, politician, and me as a Christian because I'm one person. I think that we need to do our purpose in a very not strategic way only, but in a very responsible way. Because what you do, anyone have seen here the film Gladiator? Okay, the Maximus, he says that everything that you do on earth echoes for the eternity. So what we do here, and I say maybe here to a lot of Brazilians, they are here, what you do now maybe change the future of millions of people. So that's what I do. I don't care about the consequences. I just fight for the right, and then God help me in the rest of the things.
Perfect. All right, everyone, let's give a warm welcome to Nikolas.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Show de bola.
Valeu, rapaziada.